Welcome to Tal Tutorials. Today we will be discussing the second part of the chapter 3 ICC class 9, that is laws of motion. So in this PPT we will be discussing about Newton's second law and third law. So let us go straight away into this. Before making you understand what is Newton's second law, first see, it is in a common experience that if two bodies of different mass are moving with the same velocity and they are brought to rest in same time, the force needed to stop the heavier body is more than that of the lighter body. Similarly, if two bodies of the same mass are moving with different velocity, then to stop them in the same time, the force needed for the faster moving body is more than for the slower moving body. Thus, the force needed to stop a moving body in a definite time depends both on the mass of the body and its velocity. So, what is linear momentum? See, linear momentum is nothing, it is just the product of its mass and velocity. That is linear momentum. And its SI unit, as it is a product of mass and velocity, mass SI unit is kg and velocity is meter per second. So, SI unit for linear momentum is kg meter per second. It is a vector quantity and it is denoted as P. Okay. So, what is Newton's second law? See, according to Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force applied on it, and the change of momentum takes place is in the direction in which the force is applied. This actually means F is equal to ma, force is equal to mass into acceleration. This is Newton's second law of motion. See, what does it give? It gives the quantitative value of force. That is, it relates the force to measurable quantities such as acceleration and mass. Now, see, this is very important. This is the derivation of second law of motion, or you can say mathematical formulation of the second law of motion. See, let a force F be applied on a body of mass m for a time t, due to which its velocity changes from u to v. So, we know initial moment, as we know momentum is equal to mass into velocity. So, initial momentum of a body is mass into initial velocity, that is u, m into u, and final momentum of a body is that mass into final velocity, that is v. So, mv. So, here initial momentum of a body we get as mu and final momentum of a body we get as mv. The change in momentum of a body in t second is mv minus mu. I have missed minus here, please forgive me. So, if we take m common out here, so m into v minus u by t, that is rate of change of momentum. We know acceleration is change in velocity by time, that is v minus u by t. So here if I take out v minus u by t, that becomes a, and that is multiplied by m. So therefore the rate of change of momentum is mass into acceleration, that is ma. The rate of change of momentum is ma. This relation holds true when the mass of the body remains constant. See, please class, page number 65, you see very important thing, that is to obtain Newton's first law of motion from second law. See, from Newton's second law, how you can see? From Newton's second law, F is equal to ma. If F is equal to 0 and A is equal to 0, this means that if no force is applied on the body, then its acceleration will be 0. If the body is at rest, it will remain at rest, and if it is moving, it will remain moving in the same direction with the same speed. Thus, a body not acted upon any external force does not change in state of rest or of motion. This is a statement of the first law of motion. See, here I am showing you graph to show the dependence of acceleration of force for a constant mass and acceleration of force with a constant acceleration. See, that first one, the acceleration produced in a body of a given mass is directly proportional to the force applied on it. So, A is directly proportional to F. The first graph is showing us that only a graph plotted for acceleration A against F is a straight line. Now, for the second graph, you will see the force needed to produce a given acceleration in a body is directly proportional to the mass of the body. That is, F is directly proportional to m. So, a graph is plotted for force F against mass is a straight line again. So we get the equation with this graph only, that is F is equal to ma. See, before going into these units and example of second law, SI unit of force is Newton and CGS unit is dyne. So 1 Newton is equal to 1 kg meter per second and 1 dyne is equal to 1 gram into 1 gram into 1 centimeter per second. So if there someone is asking you for the relationship between Newton and dyne, so 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. If you need to explain this, the 1 Newton is equal to 1 kg into 1 meter per second square. So 1 kg, that becomes 1000 gram into 1 meter per second square, I told you that is 100 centimeter per second square. That is 10 to the power 5 gram centimeter second square, that is dyne. Gram centimeter second square is dyne. So 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power 5 dyne. So if someone is telling you to explain some examples, so first example I shared here, when a glass vessel falls from a height on a hard floor, it comes to rest almost instantaneously, that is in a very short time. So the floor exerts a large force on the vessel and it breaks. However, if it fails on a carpet, the time duration in which the vessel comes to rest increases. So the carpet exerts less force on the vessel and it does not break. See, whenever we are catching a ball, we always tend to move our hand backward like this. Why? Because by doing so, we increase the time of the catch, that is increase the time to bring about a given change in momentum, and hence the rate of change of momentum decreases. Thus, a small force is exerted on a hand by the ball. When an athlete lands from a height on a hard floor, his feet comes to rest instantaneously. So a very large force is exerted by the floor on his feet. But if he lands on sand, his feet push the sand for some distance. Therefore, the time duration in which his feet comes to rest increases. As a result, the force exerted on his feet decreases and he is saved from getting hurt. This is some examples for second law. Now, let us come to Newton's third law. See, Newton's third law is very simple. That is, to every action, there is always an equal and opposite reaction. See, I have shared some examples which are very common and it can come in examination. So let us discuss that. See, firing a bullet from a gun. The action is here force exerted on the bullet, and reaction is here recoil experienced by the gun. Second example which I shared is hammering a nail. Here the action is the force exerted by the hammer on the nail, and reaction is the force applied by the nail on the hammer. Now third, a book lying on the table. The weight of the book acting downward is an action, and the reaction is the force acted by the table upward to keep that book. Fourth example is a moving rocket. Force exerted by the rocket on the gases backward is an action, and force exerted by outgoing gases on the rocket in a forward direction is a reaction. Fifth, a person moving on the floor. See, force exerted on the foot on the ground in the backward direction is an action, and force exerted by the ground on the feet in forward direction, that is the reaction. Last example which I shared is a moving train colliding with a stationary train. See, force exerted by a moving train on the stationary train is an action, while a force exerted by the stationary train on the moving train is a reaction. These are few examples I shared for the Newton's third law of motion. Now, what is Newton's laws of gravitation? Before going on that, see, each mass particle of the universe attracts the other mass particle. The force of attraction between the two particles because of their masses is called as the gravitational force of attraction. So according to Newton, every particle in the universe attracts every other particle with a force which is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of distance between them. And the direction of the force is a long line joining the masses. See, another thing, gravitational force is always attractive. If someone is telling you to share an expression for the gravitational force of attraction between two bodies of mass m1 and m2 separated by a distance r, so F is directly proportional to g m1 into m2 by d square. Here g is a constant of proportionality called the universal gravitational constant. I think you got this, class. See, gravitational constant is defined as the force of attraction between two bodies of a unit mass separated by a unit distance. The gravitational force of attraction is significant to explain the movement of the heavenly bodies, such as motion of the planet around the sun, motion of the moon around the earth, etc. The force with which the earth attracts to a body toward its center is called the force due to gravity. The force due to gravity on a body of mass m kept on the surface of the earth, that is alphabetical big one, and radius, that is r, is equal to the force of attraction between the mass of the earth and its body. So F is equal to gm big M small m by r square. So last thing which we are discussing here in this PPT is the differentiating mass and weight. See, first, how to define mass. The mass of the body is the quantity of matter it contains, and the weight of a body is the force with which the earth attracts it. So mass is a scalar quantity, weight is a vector quantity. Mass is a measure of the quantity of matter contained in a body, but weight is a measure of the force with which the earth attracts on a body. Mass of the body is always constant, but weight varies from place to place. The last thing is the rate at which the velocity of a freely falling body increases is called acceleration due to gravity. Its SI unit is meter per second square. What is gravitational unit of force? Gravitational unit of force is 1 GF, that is equal to 980 dyne. So class, in this PPT, I'll end the topic here. In the next PPT, I'll be discussing the numericals of this chapter. Till then, bye-bye.